Okay. I am live, but I do need to get some more water. Technically, I'm like a minute early. So let me check the sound and then I'll get water and I'll be right back. Check in the sound, check in the sound. All right, sound is working. I'm going to get some water. Then we are going to get started with the live. And I'll be right back. Just getting some water. Whew. All right, live. Am I on time or am I early? I thought I said 9. So hopefully I'm not early. If I am, my bad. This is the first time I'm early then, So I am a little bit early. That's okay. Because now that I'm early, I can talk about the astrological alignment that I wanted to talk about. And normally I save this for the end of the videos. So it'll be nice that I can, do this ahead of time and get this done. I have a script too to follow. So while people trickle in, we're going to get started. I guess I'll have to stay a little bit later tonight too. I don't get why it won't close the chat so that it's not in my way. What does this do? Pop out dashboard. That is not what I want to do at all in any case scenario. Oh, how was your week, astronauts? For those of you who have gone through a chaotic week. I know last week or last time I came on, we left off and we talked about the weekly collective. We also talked about the rare transit going on in the sky of Uranus in retrograde in Gemini and Saturn going retrograde in Pisces. So Uranus is officially retrograde today. So let me know if you experience any vibe changes. For me, I was just catching up on sleep. I've noticed whenever I have a big transit in the sky, I am just like sleeping away. Eclipses too. Don't know why. But okay. I do want to get into the Saturn retrograde and Purva Bhadrapada and Uttara Bhadrapada, because it's just important to understand the vibe. And I know a lot of you were asking me to talk a little bit more about nakshatras and Vedic astrology. And I feel like since time is limited, I think the live is going to be the place to do so. So I'm introducing that. And for those of you who listen back, I'm obviously going to include the timestamp so you can just go right to the part that you're most interested in. And we can do that. Now, the main focus is Uttara Bhadrapada. And as we get closer to Saturn going retrograde into Purva Bhadrapada, then I'll talk about that a little bit more. So let me get started with my big speech. So Saturn first entered Purva Bhadrapada on April 5th, 2024. So during that time, up until April 28, about 2025. So you may have encountered some circumstances that, looking back now, don't fully align with you. You may have even found yourself thinking, maybe I should have done that, or knowing what I know now, I would have moved differently. something along the lines of that thinking. For example, maybe you jumped into a job because it seemed like the right opportunity at the right time, but now the workload or the pay or the environment doesn't match what you actually need. Or maybe you said yes to a relationship because you didn't want to miss out on the chance with, being someone you feel like you connect with or desired, but then you realize the connection isn't stable or fulfilling or as you hoped. And for some, it could be financial decisions, like you signed a lease and you made a big purchase or you invested in something. And, in hindsight, it feels like that didn't align with your long-term foundation. That is the energy of Saturn and Purva Bhadrapada. It can open up doors and give you a sense of endless opportunities. But the lesson when it comes to this nakshatra is discernment. Not every door is meant to be walked through. So then on April 28, 2025, this is when Saturn entered Uttara Bhadrapada this year. So you may have noticed a little bit of a vibe change between that, April 5th, 2024 and, April 28, 2025. So April 28, 2025, Uttara Bhadrapada, Saturn enters it. And it has been in its retrograde motion since July 13th. And it will continue to be in retrograde motion until October 25th. Now, when I said Saturn was in Pisces or retrograded into Pisces, that was from a Western perspective. But from a Vedic perspective, Saturn's been in Pisces for a minute, and maybe it's just been in there for a while. In Purva Bhadrapada, it was in Aquarius and then Pisces, because a little bit of Purva Bhadrapada goes into Vedic Pisces. But from a Vedic perspective, Saturn has been in Pisces since, for a while. I think maybe around March. But so it will continue there until October 3rd, 2025, when it moves back into Purva Bhadrapada. Now, Uttara Bhadrapada's symbol is the back legs of a funeral cot. And I've made posts about it, so you can look at some Uttara Bhadrapada posts I have to get a little bit more insight into it. But it represents the transition from the material world to the spiritual world. It's tied to the ending of cycles. This nakshatra connects to hidden wisdom, the unconscious, and mysteries beneath the surface. It's also about connected to like renewal after endings. Now, what I've personally observed from Uttara Bhadrapada is often it marks the closing of a cycle. It's about the process of letting go, of stepping into the final journey, surrendering, and a release. But just as important, it's about the blessings that come after the surrender. Oh, thanks for the vote. 2 of Cups. Love that. Now, what I've observed from, and if you're just now coming in, I'm talking a little bit about Saturn and Uttara Bhadrapada. And I'm a little bit here early, but the live questions and the readings, they can start at 9:30. If you have any, if you're coming in early, feel free to throw a question in out there and I will answer it as soon as I get to a good place that's great to pause. But I do want to get this information out there. And welcome to the live chat, any astronauts. I am more than happy to ask any questions. So back to Uttara Bhadrapada. Now, what I've observed from Uttara Bhadrapada, as I mentioned, it represents the closing of a cycle, and etc. It's about blessings to come after the surrender. So Uttara Bhadrapada is a Saturn-ruled nakshatra, which means Saturn is very much at home here. It likes Uttara Bhadrapada. But because it's at home, you're going to feel the full intensity and weight of Saturn. You know how it is when you get home, you are true to yourself. And so Saturn is in its true nature. So if you've noticed a shift or a pressure in your life somewhere between April and now, Saturn might be pushing you to finish up a cycle, or you're entering a transition period before you get to that next stage. It's about wrapping up any unfinished business with deep intensity. It's an energy that demands patience, spiritual insight, and quite often solitude. From April into now, you may have felt like you've been stripped away from things that you've been desiring or from things you've managed to accumulate, whether that's relationships, jobs, houses, certain connections. That's Saturn's influence in general. Or this energy can give you a sense that things that you want are always out of reach, or maybe it's a relationship you've longed for but you can never quite find that right connection. Or maybe it's, you know, you find like the relationship is slipping through your fingers like water. This can also be like a career opportunities or wealth that keeps getting delayed, or it feels like you're not getting opportunities for the right jobs or financial breakthroughs that you would desire. You know, no matter how much work you put in, saving, investing, building, it doesn't seem to open up. The doors just don't seem to be opening up for you. So it can also give this feeling like the rug's just being ripped out from under you time and time again. That's very Uttara Bhadrapada. So that's Saturn in Uttara Bhadrapada. It just strips away those attachments. It delays gratification, and it creates distance between you and the things that you want or the things that you think you need. But this energy isn't there to punish you. It serves, in my opinion, two purposes: to help you recognize your shortcomings and to work on them, and to reveal the foundation of who you are. So if you've been asking yourself lately, why is everything so hard? Why does it feel like I'm being pulled away from people or things that make me happy? Why does it feel like I'm being ripped out of my comfort zone? Why does I feel like I'm constantly on edge or I'm grinding with no reward? Why is it one challenge after another? Each one is like shaking me from my peace. And that's Saturn's lesson. It's stripping down processes meant to show you your real strength and where your stability comes from. The stories that I've constantly seen with Uttara Bhadrapada natives is often it starts with hardship, trials, and tribulations, the struggle to accumulate material things, wealth, or recognition. But eventually there's this realization that everything that you've been chasing was within you the whole time. It's a little bit of like a Wizard of Oz feel, which I think both versions star Uttara Bhadrapada natives. So there's this phrase tied to Uttara Bhadrapada, and that is, may I find a foundation. Now, that foundation comes from within and knowing yourself and being connected to yourself and finding your own center. That foundation isn't just about finding a material home, it represents a spiritual home. It means being grounded within yourself, and it means despite the circumstances and the hard lessons that you go through, you remain steady despite the storm. The treasure isn't in the material gain, the status, the riches. It's about the journey and ultimately about finding peace within yourself. That's why this nakshatra is so closely linked to moksha in Vedic astrology, which is liberation that comes through detachment and spiritual depth. It's the quiet realization that I already have everything I need, and we move from effort and acquisition into clarity and self-knowledge. And there's this understanding that true fulfillment comes from not accumulation, but from the acceptance of inner wisdom, and just generally, acceptance of your circumstances and who you are as well. So yes, Saturn does strip away, and it tests, and it forces you to confront pain, and it brings loneliness, challenges, uncertainty, exhaustion, and anxiety. But after all of that, this nakshatra brings renewal. It brings fertility, nourishment, blessing, and it arrives only after the storm has passed, is what I want to say. That is essentially what I believe the gift to be of Uttara Bhadrapada. Like through all the trials and tribulations, you discover a foundation within yourself. And once you are steady, that's when the rain comes. And with it, growth, abundance, and peace. So this is not to say that you couldn't still get your fairy tale ending after this, but you may have a moment, like a turning point, that's in the very area that Saturn is transiting for you. So as Saturn is going retrograde into into Purva Bhadrapada on October 3rd, for some of us, this may be an opportunity to make corrections when it comes to those earlier situations in our lives. Retrogrades are about the rewords, revisiting, revising, restructuring, redirecting, rewriting, reconsidering. So maybe that looks like renegotiating a job role. Maybe that's about setting firmer boundaries in a relationship. Maybe that's about restructuring your finances or simply reconsidering how you want to do things in your life as you move forward. Some of those stories and narratives can come back up from those Purva Bhadrapada time periods, and you may find yourself reflecting on them and recognizing where there may have been some pitfalls, and you're asking yourself, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what do I want to do differently this time? Saturn return into Purva Bhadrapada can give you a chance to make those alternative choices to push you away from the past, and to help you bring you forward stronger and more intentional. And in some cases, this can bring about new opportunities. One more point I want to add here, and I will save the rest of my insights about Purva Bhadrapada for later because I don't want this to be like super long, is that Purva Bhadrapada has a lot to do with value and self-worth. Under this energy, you may feel like you're reflecting on circumstances where you've undervalued yourself and settled for the bare minimum or expected less than you truly deserve. And this transit pushes you to look back at those decisions. And in some cases, it may even give you opportunities to course correct and make new ones. This is a time where you're asked to walk a path that aligns with your true value and to move forward knowing your worth. It's about ignoring the critics and not letting any outside feedback or labels define you. You're leveling up in your own way. Purva Bhadrapada says, know your value, honor your value, and make choices from that place. Because when you do, the opportunities that will come in will rise to meet you. Okay, so that is like my little summary of the energies of Uttara Bhadrapada and a little bit of Purva Bhadrapada. So this energy right now in Uttara Bhadrapada, I would expect that a lot of you guys are going to be thinking about ways you can improve and better your life and find yourself, if you've been in a victim role or in a victim mindset, how you can step out of that and empower yourself. So there's a lot of different themes that can be touched on. Now, I want to do a little bit about the 12 signs because I'm sure you guys want to know a little bit about your 12 signs. As usual, I have my script. I'm not one of those people who can just, go in and say everything off the top of my head, because then I go back and I'm like, oh, I wish I had added this. I wish I added this. I wish I added this. So here we go. So for Aries, and this is all Vedic astrology, keep in mind, this is your Vedic astrology chart. All right. So for Aries, Saturn entered Uttara Bhadrapada in your 12th house on April 28, 2025. And it turned retrograde July 13th. And obviously right now it's still in Uttara Bhadrapada. Now this period can feel like a limbo, or maybe it has felt like a limbo, where there's a lot of endings and reflections and some isolation in everyday life. And this could look like, being stuck at a job or in a relationship you don't want, and you're holding on to this job. You're doing a lot of job hugging, which is very popular right now. I think a lot of 70% of people are job hugging right now, and you're needing more, but you feel guilty, or you know, for slowing down. You feel like you are limited in your options. You might even be withdrawing a little bit socially. You might find yourself running into delays when it comes to travel, paperwork abroad. This can also indeed bring about some sort of subconscious fears to the surface and causing you to have to think back and face those. But the thing is, Saturn is here to ask you to let go of what no longer serves you. Any sort of habits that you have that have been detrimental to your health, mental, physical, otherwise, it's definitely going to put a lot of pressure in that area to force you to make those changes when it comes to those behaviors. And the blessings, well, once you clear that space, and the relief arrives, the rain will come after the drought. So that'll give you closure and a fresh start. So if you're coming in, I am just going through the energies of Uttara Bhadrapada, Saturn and Uttara Bhadrapada for the 12 signs. Technically, the live starts at 9:30, but I wanted to throw this out there early for you guys so you can listen back to this, because some of you have been requesting that I do some Vedic chart and nakshatras, because I love doing them and I just haven't had time, and the lives are going to be the space for it for now, just because of time. So I'm getting back into that. So for Taurus, and this is in Vedic placements, not Western, for Taurus, Saturn will be in your 11th house, or it is in your 11th house, and this brings lessons when it comes to friendships, networks, and long-term goals. So in daily life, this could be, joining groups, networks, and you might find it may not lead anywhere, or maybe you outgrow friendships, or maybe you might even be facing certain delays in meeting your goals, because the 11th house can connect to those houses of hopes and wishes. So Saturn will test which dreams are real and which ones are just distractions. The blessings come by redefining those goals, surrounding yourself with people who truly add value in your life, and making space for opportunities to support the flow and nourishment that could come in through this. In my experience, Saturn in the 11th house, it can really show you the harsh realities of your dreams, but it also can be really great and aspirational. And what I mean by the harsh realities is kind of like that saying, be careful what you wish for. Like, you wish for something, then you get it, and it's like, oh, this is not exactly what I expected things to be. And another thing is, when it comes to the blessings, is Saturn, if it feels you've been working hard towards a goal, it can give you those opportunities to actually finally reach them. And that's pretty much it. I mean, that's what it does. I mean, it really does. I have found it to bring more friendships into in people's lives, but I have spoken to other people who have said Saturn in their 11th house can make them feel a little bit more isolated, and it's going to depend on your placement, because it's in Uttara Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada is very restrictive. I would imagine that this will be a little bit more so leaning to, I'm going to filter out people in my life, because that's more Saturnian energy. Now for Gemini, this is going into your 10th house, or it is in your 10th house. And this is about career, reputation, sometimes titles like Mr., Mrs., Doctor, things along the lines of that, PhD. So this can feel really heavy when it comes to responsibilities within your career. You might even find that people are relying on you a lot more, or there's a sense of confusion about career direction when it comes to Uttara Bhadrapada. This can also lead to delayed recognition at work. You have to keep in mind Saturn, or Saturn's nakshatras, are servants, right? So it puts you in this role at work where you are serving others, like you're doing a lot of busy work, all of these small tasks that people might take for granted. That is very much like this 10th house energy here. And thank you guys for voting on the polls. I'm going through the astrology before we start the tarot live sessions right now. But so everyday examples of this Saturn in the 10th house, you could be passed over for promotion, or you're receiving like extra tasks to do without reward. Sometimes this can even be like a blending of roles. Like, how sometimes companies, they don't have enough people, and so they assigned you to roles that are not relevant to your job. Saturn and Uttara Bhadrapada can do this. And when it's like retrograde, like it is now, it's going to cause you to reevaluate that and say, hey, I don't really think this is right, or maybe I need to put stronger boundaries, or this doesn't seem suitable for me in the long run. And so you're going to be doing a lot of questioning of your career. But ultimately, this can bring about a new sense of direction in your career, building more authority, achieving more than what you thought you ever could. And like I said, more responsibility. So ultimately, it can lead to promotion or a better job. Now, for Cancer, Saturn is in your ninth house. And so ninth house is obviously higher learning, travel, beliefs, sometimes, legal situations as well. So you could run into delays with school. In my experience, this is just a more restructuring of your personal beliefs and getting rid of outdated thoughts. Like if you were raised in a certain religion, you may even question that. Sometimes this can bring about new certifications, and you might find maybe these certifications are hard to pass, and you really have to study very hard to pass them and put in a lot of work. And hello, everyone, if you're coming in. And the blessings will come from growing stronger within your belief systems. Like you feel more solid when it comes to your decision making. And it's generally like sustaining wisdom. And also, if this is some sort of like legal dispute or anything like that, Saturn's there to support you in any sort of battles. I do want to say that. I have Saturn in the first house retrograde, and this is the story of my life. Little pay, but doing more work than others. Yeah, that'll happen. Those major Saturn placements, Saturn in the first house, being ruled by any Saturn nakshatras, Saturn conjunct moon, Saturn conjunct sun. A lot of people in these situations or with these placements, they get put in situations where people try to like take advantage of them or walk all over them, or really just kind of treat them like they're lesser. I've noticed like they're above them, which is very interesting. But generally what I have found is eventually those people end up being the best leaders, the people who are the brightest, the most structured people you can rely on, and they end up rising up in life generally because they have undergone those situations. Hey, Genesis, I'm on the phone right now, so not all here. Hopefully, I can participate within 15 minutes. I heard Saturn matures after age 36. I hope it gets better for me by then. I have heard that too, but in my opinion, but everyone's different. In my opinion, Saturn just slowly matures, right? And maybe 36 is when you first notice it. And but from what my understanding, Saturn just grows better with time. It's one of those planets that it takes step by step. So each year you grow, each year you get better, each year you improve. Some planets don't get as better with time, like sun. If you have some sun placements, you might find your fire is dimming as time goes on, but Saturn tends to get stronger over time. Now on to Leo. Saturn will be in your 8th house right now, going retrograde in Uttara Bhadrapada. This is deep transformations through intimacy, shared resources, or even just like endings, emotional situations. You know how 8th house is. 8th house is intense. So generally, for some people, since it's in Uttara Bhadrapada, this can bring a lack of support because Uttara Bhadrapada wants you to stand on your own 2 feet and say, I can do this myself. This can also represent people are leaning on you for help. This can feel like financial pressure from debts or loans or inheritances. Maybe you're battling inheritances with family or something along the lines of that, or you feel overwhelmed by loans. This can also feel as though you are struggling with intimacy when it comes to close friendships. Uttara Bhadrapada is one of those placements that tends to be very, very private. And Saturn in Uttara Bhadrapada retrograde is like, okay, I have been holding in my feelings for so long. This actually might be detrimental for me. I am actually might be causing not rifts, but I'm not nurturing my relationships. I'm not allowing to myself to be seen by others. And so you could be wrestling with those feelings through this transit, or you could be looking about ways to, pay off debt or invest or really get serious about it. It's not necessarily bad, in my opinion. When I've seen Saturn in the eighth house, sometimes people just open up a brokerage account and they try to learn a little bit more about finances and investing. And it's just a lot to learn. So it's just going to kind of crash course you into that area. But it's not necessarily bad. But keep in mind with Saturn Uttara Bhadrapada, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be slow to build, but you will get there. Okay. And at the end of it, you may have stronger, deeper bonds, more stability financially, as well as a stronger emotional threshold. Okay. Maybe even stronger control over your emotional outputs, because sometimes when we have that Saturn in the eighth house, you know what it will do? It will create situations that constantly trigger you until you learn to manage those triggers and those feelings. So that can be part of that journey as well. So keep that in mind. Now for Virgo, this is in the seventh house for you. So this is all about those relationships and partnerships. Woo, okay. So Saturn in that house can feel heavy. Your relationships can feel as though you need stronger boundaries. I've noticed when people have Saturn in their seventh house transiting, especially in Uttara Bhadrapada, for some people, this can create some unequal dynamics in relationships that you need to address, whether that is cutting people off or even just feeling like a sense of, oh, my partner is neglecting me, whether that is emotionally, physically, something along the lines of that. Saturn tends to create distance, but it can represent a series of lessons, whether that be about clarifying your needs within a relationship or clarifying your need for commitment, saying if you're someone who if you haven't been in a pattern of finding committed relationships, let's say you meet people who just are like flings, Saturn in that eighth house, in Uttara Bhadrapada in the seventh house, it's going to say, I don't want this anymore, because Uttara Bhadrapada is a committed placement, and so is Saturn. And so you're entering relationships with strong intentions, and you're filtering out people who are no longer aligned with you. And it doesn't even have to be romantic. This could honestly be relationships with your personal trainer. This could be a relationship with your dietitian, like any relationship that feels like it's not nourishing. It doesn't feel like it's coming and moving from a place of love. That's something you're going to want to reconsider and say, you know what, why am I even bothering with this? I don't want this. If you're working with someone directly, like for example, with my channel, I had to work with someone for a logo, right? And let's say that was tough. It wasn't, but let's say it was. Saturn in the seventh house would say, do I really want to continue working with this person? No. So that's what it will do. Now, and for businesses, like if you're looking to be in the public eye, this can do that. It can also help you gain a lot of respect in that area, but you're going to have to work hard for it. I do want to say that, but it actually can be something good for your career. He said, I heard Saturn in Pisces is not good to hold on tightly to desires because it might be difficult to manifest. That is kind of correct. Like you have to prepare yourself for disappointment. What I have noticed, especially about Saturn and Pisces and Uttara Bhadrapada, is things may not turn out the way you hoped, or it may not play out during your timeline. It's not saying that it won't manifest, but like you said, it's difficult to manifest, but it is possible. And while you're going through the steps to manifest it, you become stronger, clearer, smarter, more refined. Saturn's energy is all about refinement, so it's a tough process, right? Okay, I'm fully get to spend time with Brandy. Thanks, Genesis. But you're right, Strawberries. That's good to point out. Now on to, did I do Libra? No, I didn't do Libra. I think I left off at Virgo in the House of Partnerships, right? So for Libra, Saturn's in your sixth house. That's all about health, routines, work every day. So example, Saturn Uttara Bhadrapada can bring you stressful coworkers or extra chores or feeling like you need to address any sort of lingering health issues or responsibilities. Honestly, Saturn in the sixth house, I'm going to be honest, that's not my favorite placement to see just because it can weigh you down by responsibilities. Worst case scenario, if you are someone who is susceptible to depression, like it runs in your family, this can put you in a state of like depression daily. That's worst case scenario. Um, but it will cause you to have to address any long-term health issues because it can get bad. This can also represent like facing some sort of inequalities at work, like you're under a system that is complicit in injustice and and in I was going to say unfairity, but that's not a word, and inequality. And it's just it's just saying, okay, do I really want to stay within this system? Does this really align with me? I don't think I want to put my heart and soul into a place that doesn't meet me. A center reading course after you go through the signs. Thank you, Genesis. I'm trying to move through quickly. I thought I would be able to get through this a little bit faster, but I have a lot to say. But this is also really great because this can bring about a lot of structure within your life. Saturn in the sixth house is like if your life just feels like it is in shambles, it's random, there's not a sense of stability. What Saturn in the sixth house is going to do is bring you that sense of stability. It's like, okay, I'm going to get this strong foundation going. I am going to make sure that I have a stable job, that my health is good, that I live in a decent apartment. Because sometimes Saturn in the sixth house, since sixth house connects to rentals, what it can do is put you in like a apartment complex that is really not for you. You know what I mean? Like maybe your neighbors are a little bit suspect, or maybe there's some pests in the apartment, and then Saturn in the sixth house is like, we got to get out of here, right? That is what it will do. And then additional responsibilities. You could buy a pet, you could buy a condo, whatever the case may be. Saturn in the fifth house for you Scorpios, this can slow down love life. To be honest, I found that Saturn in the fifth house is going to do one or two things. It slows down your love life. Or what it does is during your free time, you end up working because Saturn's ultimately like a work planet. And so you actually spend a lot of your free time doing a lot of responsibilities. But it's actually interesting as well because Saturn in the fifth house, it's almost like it will make you like responsibilities. Like when you feel like you're not productive or you're not working towards something during your free time, you might get a little bored. So this can also bring about like dating relationships or dating situations where you are looking for more committed long-term partners, and you may even attract that type as well. Sometimes it can make dating disappointing. It also can feel like you are maybe undergoing some creative blockers, but at the same time, this placement is really good for, I guess, inspiration in a way, because it's going to make you figure out your creative process and figure out, how can I get over writer's block? How can I get over these creative blocks? And Saturn in the fifth house will allow you to create a system to do so. This can also bring about more responsibilities in those areas. So fifth house rules children. Something I've seen with Saturn going retrograde, in the fifth house, is it can bring about more responsibilities in terms of children. So you can end up having a kid, and if you don't have a kid already, not if you do have a kid already, maybe that kid has to go to more soccer practices or something like that. And you're like, okay, well, I have more responsibilities because of my kid. They got to go to soccer practice now. I got to go with them, right? There's that, but ultimately Saturn is a romantic planet, and it can bring about a lot of people who are almost fairy tale like, and what I mean by that, because it's known as like a Cinderella placement, you might meet people who are highly established. So this is why I say you meet people who are very serious, work focused, may come from a background that is got a little bit more money. It's kind of weird too, this placement. because it'll take you through highs and lows. It'll take you to people who can be kind of maybe grimy is the word I want to use, to people who can be almost like royalty. So that can be that for love life as well. But for the most part, sometimes it can feel like a dry spell until you work on that. And then you're like, oh, wait, this is what I like to do for fun. So it transforms your way of having fun, especially in Uttara Bhadrapada. Now, for you Sagittarius, this is in your fourth house. This is the house of home, your emotional world, your sense of inner peace, family. What happens is this is Saturn Uttara Bhadrapada. This fits this narrative very well because Saturn's saying is like, will I find a home? Hey, Nabetia, how are you? Saturn's saying is what I was saying is, may I find a foundation. And so at this point in your life, you might even be looking to change homes or feeling a little bit lost when it comes to where do I belong? Where am I going? That's what it can do. And this can also bring a lot of stress because Saturn in the fourth house is like, oh my gosh, I have so much pressure. I have so much stress. I'm so anxious. Like I feel like my world is collapsing. I feel a lack of control. I feel a little bit, sad, melancholy. I have a lot of fears about the future, about my stability. And what happens here is with Uttara Bhadrapada, you have to learn to regulate the emotions. All this feeling of anxiety or attachment to an idea of the future, you have to let it go. And you have to sort of go with the flow because this is a Pisces nakshatra. It's all about letting go and releasing control. And so there's going to be some themes when it comes to that. Also, for some of you, you might even just find that you have to move or, somebody's raising the rents, someone is, I don't know, you got nosy neighbors. It can happen a lot of things in regards to that. But by the end of this transit, more than likely you have found a new sense of home. You have been able to regulate your mood properly. You have a newfound sense of peace. You know where those anxieties come from. I found when it comes to Saturn going through the fourth house, it brings about a lot of growing up, a lot of maturity, a lot of standing on your own, becoming more independent, which makes sense because the fourth house is the foundation of the chart, is what we stand on. And it's interesting because Buddha, which is like the ruler, the deity of Saturn, is what is known symbolically as a snake in which the earth rests its head on, or the earth rests its head on this snake. So there is a lot of themes of having a strong sense of foundation, whether that is emotionally or whether that is physically in your life. So a lot of things going on there. And then this also can bring about information about the family because Saturn is like, oh, let me reveal something. Let's dig a little bit deeper about my family. This is how the environment my family grew up in. Oh, I love saying hi to each other. Hey guys, almost done. Saturn going in your third house in Capricorn. This brings about lessons when it comes to communication, mindsets. This is manifesting and interesting. Sometimes this can bring about mental stress and anxious thoughts, especially in Uttara Bhadrapada. What I have found here is ultimately you're going to have to address that, whether that be through meditation, naming the feeling, talking yourself through it, talking to friends, talking to a counselor. And then sometimes this can be about a lot of people maybe even critiquing your communication, or used to say things like this. You should write things like this. I don't really like that. Da, 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 da. This can also make you face fears in the areas of the third house. Like I know people who are scared to drive in the city. And so Saturn in the third house might give you a job where you have to drive in the city, right? This can also make it feel like, let's say you're struggling to find a job and you're like, oh man, I only have a high school diploma. Every job I'm looking for is asking for a college diploma. Saturn in the third house is going to cause you to up level your skills. And so you're going to have to get that college degree or some sort of certification. I'm over on good health, just enjoying the comfort that Brandy provides with her knowledge of Vedic and Western. Oh, you guys are so sweet. And I'm glad you're being nice to each other. Saturn and Pisces in the D9 chart, Strawberry, you were right. Yep. Strawberry gave some really good insights. But honestly, Saturn in the third house can really cause you to have to overthink a lot of details. Sometimes it's struggling to focus. In my sense, it's really like a sense of mental pressure. Like people have a lot of expectations of you, and you could be feeling spread thin because third house is the house of efforts, and Saturn being in there, it's like, wow, like I have to put a lot of effort into my life. This is tough. Um, Thank you. I heard that from KRS. Yeah, he's on point. I love him. Um, but ultimately, when you have this placement here at this time in your life, because Uttara Bhadrapada goes from a servant to like this leader to a princess, queen, this is about rising in your self-esteem, feeling more confident and capable. So by the end of this transit, more than likely that is going to happen. This is also the house of decision making. So Saturn here is going to allow you to make stronger decisions and feel more confident within those decisions. And this can also be decluttering of relationships, friendships. I remember, I'm trying to look back when I had Saturn in my third house. This was actually really wild because I remember during that transit, there was a little bit more like shakiness when it came to the neighborhood. Like I remember there was like, I think it was like I witnessed like a robbery and I was like, oh, that never happened before. So it can kind of put you in situations that are going to unsettle you mentally. So it can definitely unnerve you. So I'm going to say good luck, Capricorns, but you will ultimately come out mentally stronger, more than likely gain some new skill set and push the boundaries of what you can do. Now, Aquarius, this is in your second house. This is all about the money, the moolah, and your self-worth, okay? And family as well. So this is like possibly budgeting tightly, maybe delays in income, maybe feeling undervalued at work. You also might even question your worth a little bit, whether that, especially if it's closely tied to possession and finances, because Uttara Bhadrapada wants you to release that connection to material world. It'd be a little bit different if it was a different etc. But Uttara Bhadrapada is just like finances. What are you worried about that for? Let's ascend, right? So honestly, the blessing can come here is by creating more financial security for yourself, or even having less anxieties when it comes to finances. From what I've seen from the second house, this can be a blend of different things. From some people, this just brings about more structure when it comes to your finances. Your savings can actually grow if you are very disciplined, you're focused, you're learning a lot when it comes to financial management. This can actually also reduce the amount that you're spending, or you might even change what you decide to spend your money on. Keep in mind, Saturn is all about long-term stability. So it's all about like, oh, how can I long-term invest in something? So you're investing something that lasts a long time. Okay. So I'm Aquarius ascendant and you are right. Glad to hear that resonates with you. Strawberries. And it's true, like with Saturn in the second house, it really is just about bringing about more stability within your life when it comes to how are you spending not just your money, but even your time. Because Saturn, when it goes through your second house, it's going to make you value your time. Especially that. It's like, what am I spending my time on? Does this make sense for me? Can I do this a different way? Can I approach this a different way? Can I get this out of my life? And then in some cases can also cause you to question things. Like I remember when Saturn went through, I'm trying to remember, it's a friend's second house, and they had certain belief systems. Like they didn't want to go out alone. But when Saturn went through their second house, they were like, oh, actually, going out alone by myself is not a bad thing. I get to do the things that I want to do. I'm not on anyone else's schedule. So it kind of changed about the things that they valued, where they were like, oh, it's nice to do my own thing, right? So sometimes it can change things in that way. But overall, I don't think it's a bad transit. Some people say it can make them be a little bit broke, or like they don't have a lot of money and resources. Other people say it is because of that pressure of not having things, it caused them to level up and, get their financial situations right. Now, lastly, on to the star of the show, Pisces. So Saturn is in your first house of self-identity. That's especially powerful, okay? Because Uttara Bhadrapada is tied to that phrase, may I find a foundation. So during this time, you may face a lot of insecurities in general about stability, especially when it comes to your physical home, your job, your inner peace, relationships. It can tackle all different areas within your life because it's the first house. So this could show up in a lack of mental peace, right? A sense of job insecurity, housing challenges, feeling overwhelmed by responsibilities. Also, this is about setting boundaries with yourself and others to protect your energy. Okay. Honestly, when Saturn goes to the first house, there is so many different themes of new levels of responsibility. I have found people have Saturn go through their first house and they might get a raise. Like they might go from somebody who is maybe an associate manager to like an actual manager. And now you have to supervise a lot of people. And this might be the first time you're doing it. And you're like, oh, how do I do this? Especially in Uttara Bhadrapada, because it wants to eventually rise you up in life. And this is also something which is going to make you want to be more disciplined within your life. So a lot of people will lose weight when Saturn will go into their first house. And then they'll change their appearance in some way. So there's a lot of things going on there. Wow, Chaos, I haven't got Chaos in years. He did my Vedic chart around a decade ago. Ooh, how was he? I've never gotten a chart reading from him. But I will say, when it comes to Saturn in the first house, this is going to completely transform your life. You might even want to go in a new direction that is going to bring you more autonomy over your future. So you stop thinking about yourself as an employee or someone who's under the thumb of someone, and you start wanting to have more control over your direction in life. So a lot of people I've seen with Saturn go to their first house start their own businesses, or even just want to maybe own their own property or own something, like they take the bus. They're like, I'm getting a car. Like, I don't want to rely on a bus. I want my own thing. So that's what Saturn in the first house can do as well. But this is a total renewal of your life. I do want to say that. This can be a tough period. I'm going to say that. I don't want to tread lightly and say that Saturn in Uttara Bhadrapada in your first house, or whether your sun is in Pisces or your moon is in Pisces, is going to be easy. In fact, it's pretty tough. But ultimately, as I said before, this is a sign placement of renewal. It is known as the bringer of rain. So after all of those trials and tribulations, it brings nourishment. All right, I'm done. At least now I know how long I take. So I'll have to do it like after the readings. I know, Genesis, did you say you sent for one? I'm trying to remember. I didn't think it was going to take that long. I thought it was going to take me like 30 minutes or something like that. I'm sorry, guys. But hopefully the information was useful. I'll cut some of it up and repost it in the shorts so that you guys can look at the short version, or you can come back and look at the full video. I'll put the timestamps there so it'll be easier for you guys to just look at it and see what you need to see. I hope you guys are doing okay. Said, that's interesting. I heard some of the things he said, Chaos gives you basic info. It wasn't worth it. You're better off just reading the long readout he gives you. But even then, just decipher it yourself or find another person. When I was going through Saturn in the first house, about getting through fear and being more comfortable, reinventing myself and letting go of the past. Purva Bhadrapada, I love that. That's interesting. I heard similar about some of Chaos readings. Thank you for the readings. You are welcome. And thank you for letting us know about reinventing yourself with that Purva Bhadrapada energy. That's very important to know, to get an idea of everyone's experiences. I love to hear it. To be honest, that at least I love hearing you guys' experiences. Oh, and let me know how your week has been, because we do have this rare energy in the sky with, Uranus retrograde. And this is from Western perspective. Uranus retrograde in Gemini and Saturn retrograde in Pisces. That energy hasn't happened for a while. For me, what I have noticed, especially, I think the Epstein victims, they came out on Monday and they were talking about, creating their own list for victims. So I thought that was very fitting for the theme of, fighting back against corruption and all the power that was going, misalignment of power going on. When I had Saturn and Jupiter in the first house, I had a glow up too. Yes, all the glow ups with Saturn and Jupiter in the first house. It can definitely bring that, 100%. I think that happened for me as well. I think those placements, they can be good. If you are dedicated to changing your life and your energy, Saturn and Jupiter in the first house will support that 100%. Okay, Genesis, I'm on to your question. Today, I'm just using my regular Rider-Waite tarot cards. Nothing special here. But let me get into it. Oh, cards are flying already. It's almost like K.R.S. enjoys talking to his videos than he does providing specific service. He was a bit depressed when he did his recordings. He might feel overwhelmed. I'm sure he has a lot of clients. That might be it. But we will never know. Yeah, I think so too. Some people get a little bit overwhelmed. All right, Genesis, I see your question. All right, since I'm a contractor, okay, and I don't get paid time off, I need to take some days off in early October and early November. Would there be a solution that allows me to take time off without a loss in income? Would it ruffle any feathers with the client company and my contract company if I did request some kind of solution? Let's see. Would there be a solution that allows you to take off without a loss in income? Man, they don't give you paid time off? No vacation? I guess, yeah, that happens to a lot of contractors these days. I think that's why a lot of companies try to make people contractors. Even holidays, I have to move hours in other ways. Wow. But I understand that. I mean, so many companies do that now to save money. They hire people as contractors. All right, we have the, I don't know if they can hold this up. We have the Hermit and we have the Four of Pentacles here. And then we also have the Two of Swords reversed. And the Knight of Wands. Okay, a solution allows you to take time off without a loss in income. Well, the Hermit does show that you're thinking very hard about this. And with this Four of Pentacles here, generally, to me, it seems as if the company is not willing to make a lot of changes when it comes to the paying, that how they're going to pay you. They're probably just say, hey, we're going to stick to our policy that says, you know, we're not going to pay the contractors for any time off. You're just going to have to not be paid for that time, to be honest. That's probably what they're going to say. Especially when we have this Knight of Wands here following this Two of Swords reverse. Two of Swords is almost like reverse. They don't even think about it. They're just kind of like, this is how it is. I'm just going to be blunt with you. Knight of Wands there. I feel as if they're not going to change that outlook. But would you ruffle any feathers with the client company or contract company if you did request some sort of solution, kind of solution? Yeah, I don't enjoy contracting, prefer full-time. Well, it's funny because they already paid my contract in full, so it's no loss to them. That's interesting. They paid it in full already. Let's see this. Contracting should be banned. Anyway, we have the Knight of Cups and the Queen of Wands reverse. I think you would ruffle some feathers if you tried to propose a solution, about not losing income. The interesting thing is, like, let me pull another card. The Strength card, to me, it doesn't feel like they would even really suffer that much financially if they paid you while you were away, to be completely honest. To me, with the Strength card here, sometimes, especially with that Queen of Wands reverse and the Knight of Cups, it's like being stubborn for the sake of being stubborn. You know what I mean? Like, the Strength card is like, hey, we don't really want to make those changes. We're kind of putting our foot down, and we want to ensure that we're sticking to the contract or our company policy. Or what just flew out? Or maybe we just feel like that's a bit tough. We have the 10 of Wands. He said they were impressed with me. That's good. 10 of Wands, maybe they're going to be overwhelmed by any sort of paperwork changes. Maybe it would be something that would be complex for HR to handle if they were to pay you for that time. I know there's a lot of different tax forms and various different documentations HR has to pay for each employee. And maybe it would be overly complex for them to switch that around. But I will say, with the Strength card and the 10 of Wands here, it is possible. I just don't think they would do it anytime soon. Like, if you're going to propose the idea, you'd have to propose, like, okay, like in the future, like a year from now, like, can we switch this up and change it a bit? Especially with the Strength card here, that's showing that things are going to take time. Those adjustments need a lot of preparation, especially with that 10 of Wands there. They really need to talk this through. They really need to get all their ducks in a row and in order to make those shifts. So to me, it feels like I don't think they'd be open to paying you for this October and early November, but it might be possible to convince them in the long run if you are going to be a long-term contractor with them, depending, they may be more open to that. I was all right. So in my Virgo stellium manner of doing things, or Leo stellium Vedic, I think I'll probably propose a way for them to move my hours around to compensate, like later hours or either earlier hours. So I see. So you don't have to. So it's not like you're not working. You're just working different hours. I wonder if they'll be okay. Okay, maybe not. We have the 10 of Swords. I see something about it tells me like they would not necessarily go for it. And I do know that it is a little bit different when you are paying employees for the night or nighttime employees. I think there's a different paperwork for that. I'm trying to look it up. At least I remember hearing that. Yeah, nighttime differential, but that might be okay. Night employees typically work in which can differ from early employees. I know they can work longer hours, but I'm trying to figure out what's the tax difference. You said, I've split my time before since my contract is already paid in full. Maybe they'll go for it. But the 10 of Swords kind of shows me that they're not that open to it. We have the 8 of Cups. The Hangman. Once again, like another card about waiting and possibly changing in the future. But like I said, I don't know if they would be open right now for October and November based on the cards. Because I feel like we would get different cards, like maybe the Empress, the 10 of Cups, or, Two of Cups, or something to celebrate. But it's like they're like, no, maybe some other time. Yeah, my contract ends on December 29th, so change would have to happen after that. Maybe that's what it is. If they renew your contract, then possibly they're like, okay, we're fine with making those changes and adjustments, and you have a discussion about that contract renewal. We have this Three of Pentacles. They'd be open to negotiating it if they want to renew your contract. The Three of Pentacles might suggest that they do. They want to continue working together, but you can have that discussion then. I think they would be more open to it with the Queen of Cups. Nine of Cups. So I think so. When it comes time for your contract to end, they're probably going to want to renew it or have you work in some other capacity or something along the lines of that. They would be open to having that discussion, especially with that Queen of Cups there and that Nine of Cups. That would show you'd have an opportunity to get what you want, Genesis. Said, cool, that works. You're the best, Brandy. Thank you. This is giving me an idea for the current situation until there's a renegotiation. Oh, good. I'm glad you have a new idea. Keep trying, throw things out there. And I feel like the more you throw things out there, the more they're like, okay, this person really wants to negotiate. You're still technically working on your hours, so they might be more flexible the more you kind of bring stuff up. Most excited to see in a love reading. You guys said the Two of Cups. Wow. I thought the Lovers was going to win. Nobody's happy to see the Lovers in a love reading. That's actually kind of funny. I love that. And thank you all for voting. I am trying to switch up the vibe lately. I think I'll probably do, out the window with the Lovers for the love readings. Man, I do like seeing both cards, I'll say. Two of Cups and the Lovers. But I totally get why the Two of Cups would have more of an appeal. There's more of like, it feels a little bit more like of an emotional intimacy connection, versus the Lovers can sometimes feel like you're getting to know someone sometimes, or you're making a choice about somebody. But hey, I don't think I've asked you guys how your week has been. I thought I was gonna be able to do all my astrology stuff before 9:30, and then I went way overboard. I made my script too long. But how are you guys? How has the week been with all the different changes going on? I know my week has been better than last week, completely honest. I went with 10 of Cups predominantly because who wouldn't want all the cups? Ooh, you're not wrong. 10 of Cups is one of my favorite cards. It is peaceful. It's relaxing. It's like you have everything you want and more. So I actually agree with that. I totally agree with that diagnosis of things. All the cups together is a good time. Oh, and let me know if there's been any changes in your life. Uranus is officially retrograde. The only change I've made today was, trying to add in the astrology. I'm still working that out. Oh, and today I went to Starbucks and they ran out of the raspberry matcha. And so I was talking to them and they were like, well, we don't have that one, but I can give you a strawberry matcha. And I was like, do you have any other flavors? She said, we can make a matcha out of any syrup you want. And I didn't know that, So today I tried the pumpkin spice matcha foam combo and it was really good. So I was really excited about that. That is my excitement for the week. Okay, last week was brutal, so exhausting physically, so much so that it was exhausting emotionally. He said, "What's funky bean? You can make matcha anything. I need to try this." Yeah, try it. They have all the different syrups. And she said, well, if you want a matcha foam, pumpkin spice, or a vanilla foam, latte matcha, we can do that. So apparently they can. And it was very good. It was very, very good. But I'm so sorry. Last week was so brutal. Oh, that almost made me forget to do the weekly collective. But first, I want to pause to see if anyone has any questions. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'm very sorry for your week, Janessas. I completely understand. Okay. If you have any questions, as per usual, it is $5 for yes or no, $10 for in-depth questions. There are so many things we can talk about. Obviously, I have my limitations. I'm not going to do like any medical questions, or if you're facing any legal battles, I'm not going to let you know if you're going to win or not. I do have morals and guidelines, but I am there to let you know what is going to be coming next. He said, "Oh, it's okay now. Just last week was brutal and rough." I feel the same way. Last week was very tough. But I feel a vibe change coming on. I feel like more positive energy is coming in, and there's a shift, you know. Hi, ma'am. Is the reading free? No, it is not. Readings are $5 for yes or no, $10 for in-depth questions. Did I pin the comment? I don't think I did pin it. I thought I pinned it. I did not pin it. Oh, wait, maybe I did. I see it. Should be pinned at the top. Let me make sure that it is pinned so everyone can see the pinned message. I think I just forgot. So you can pay through PayPal, Super Chats, or Cash App, and information can be found in the description bar below. And I love taking your questions, and I'm so glad to see you all here on this Friday night. It's been a better week. I'm glad that you guys agree. And Genesis thinks it's been a better week. I did say that more than likely there is going to be a better vibe change and shift now that both of these energies are retrograde. More than likely, you guys are going to start making more changes in your life. I know me personally, there's definitely been some revelations, but I'm going to get into that in a second when we go into the weekly collective. So we can get an understanding. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll give it a minute, and then I'll hop into the weekly collective. I just want to drink some water. And you are welcome. Ooh, I've been talking for a long time. Oh, don't forget to hit the like button, guys, and vote on the polls. I want to know which card are you the most happy to see in a love reading. Looks like the Two of Cups is winning. Next up is the Ten of Pentacles, and then we have the Ten of Cups, and we have the Lovers. So my vote, I don't know. I feel like I'm tied between the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Pentacles. I don't know. I like those feelings the best. So that's just my preference. All right. I'm going to shuffle these cards really quick. And then as I'm shuffling them, let's do a recap of the weekly collective. Let me see if I can flash back into my mind. I believe I remember which cards we got. Yep, I remember. I got it plugged into my brain. So last week, or I said last week. So this week, for our weekly collective, the cards that we pulled last week were the Tower. Oh, speak of the Tower, the cards fell. Last week we got the Tower, and we also got the Four of Swords and the Three of Pentacles reversed. So I talked about there possibly being some surprises, a moment of truth. and feeling as though you just need a mental break from all of the drama. And one interpretation that I forgot to mention for the Tower, I mean, there's probably 1,000 interpretations I forgot to mention, but is a moment of revelation. So for me this week, I had a moment of deep reflection and something hit me. I started asking myself, why do I feel certain ways? Where is this coming from? And that brought about a moment of revelation to me. And that was my Tower moment. And it happened during the beginning of the week. And because of that moment, I have been pulling back a little bit. I'm just trying to sit with it and figure out, what do I want to go from here? And then I mentioned with that Four of Swords, we're in a bit of a feeling of a recline. We don't want to fight. We don't want to argue. We don't want to wrap ourselves up in any drama. We just want rest, relaxation, peace, and a moment to think things through and sit with ourselves. Then I also mentioned with the Three of Pentacles, perhaps there is less collaboration and support this week, or it feels like everyone's off doing their own thing. Doesn't feel like things are coming together. And then I also mentioned you just might not feel like you want to be a part of the daily work grind. You're tired. You're burnt out. You're like, I put too much effort into this. I need a vacation. I want to pull away from this. I don't want to do this. I'm fed up. I'm trying to tap out. That's that Three of Pentacles energy. So you may have felt like that this week. You may even still feel a little bit like that, where people's schedules aren't matching up. You're not in the same timeline as other people. Maybe some people are texting you and you're just like, you know what? I'm overstimulated. I don't want to respond right now. And that could be that energy. Now, let's see what is coming up next week for the weekly collective. Wow, a card fell. We have the Eight of Cups. We always get so many eights. Let's pull another card here. They're flying. They're flying. Okay, this card seems to want to come out. We have the Emperor. If it's going to focus. And guys, let me know if you have any questions. And then I'm going to pull. All right. We have the Hermit. That just jumped out. Is it going to focus? There we go. Wow, the Eight of Cups, the Emperor, and the Hermit. So we already know the Eight of Cups. We are, what in the world just happened? My screen just dropped. But for the Eight of Cups, we already know that this card is about moving on emotionally. I always see the Eight of Cups just saying, I am so dissatisfied with X, Y, or Z that I'm going on and I'm moving to a better place and I'm transitioning to a different area in my life. One thing I love to see about the Eight of Cups is it can represent, like, if you have had somebody triggering you or situations that are triggering you, the Eight of Cups is the ability to emotionally detach from that. This week, it just feels like you're not going to be pulled into that emotionally. It just feels too much like, this is old, this is said and done, I'm over it, I'm ready for, something else. And in general, in our lives, we could be ready to form new relationships. We can be ready to move on from a house, a neighborhood, a school, an environment, whatever the case may be. I do see the Emperor card and the Hermit card, and the Emperor is connected to Aries. So that's going to be your physical body, and as well as just representing lots of various different areas of your life, because it's kind of like the first house. And then the Hermit card is going to connect to daily habits, work, the sign of Virgo, rentals, apartments. And so when it comes to moving on from those Aries-like things, well, this is like saying, I'm moving away from forming some habits that may not be beneficial towards me. And generally, since it's the physical body that could say, well, I'm not working out as much, I need to work out more. Or vice versa, I need to try a different workout, or I need to switch up my meal habits, or I need to change my hair. I need to get some glasses, like I want to switch up and get some new nails. It's like I want to change things up. I want to change my appearance. I want to change how I look. I want to change how I present myself. I want to change how I walk, how I talk, how I smell. Like all of these things having to do with your presentation out there in the world. You might even be thinking about, I want to make some changes to that. This can also represent, in terms of the Hermit card here, like, hey, I'm done with this job. I'm done with this work. I don't want to be in this school anymore. Don't like this teacher. Don't like this class. Don't like this department. I want to switch departments. This can also represent any sort of daily routine that you have. You're like, oh, I always have to drive an hour for work. I don't want to drive an hour for work anymore. I want to drive 30 minutes, or I want to work from home. So I want to switch that out. Any daily routines in terms of like, oh my gosh, I always eat steak, I don't know who eats steak every day, but I eat steak once a week. I'm tired of eating steak once a week. I don't want it to be my once a week meal. I want to eat steak, twice a week, or I don't want to eat it at all. I'm going vegan, something like that. Like there's going to be some changes within our routines. Maybe you're adding a nap. You are getting rid of coffee or alcohol. You're adding it, So all of these different things we can change within our lives. There's some transformations happening over the next week. The Emperor card here in general is going to represent moving on from past narratives or thoughts or ways of doing things and looking towards the future as the Emperor wants to do. He's structured, he's focused, and he's someone who with a plan. And so whenever I see the Emperor card here, I know someone is planning ahead for the future. And next to the Hermit, you're planning pretty deeply. You're in it, man. The Hermit card is also someone who's going to put in that work. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're already putting things in motion next week, or this is a continuing of putting things in motion. But that Eight of Cups is like, I'm taking it to the next level. So I really do see that. This combination together, you can almost read it like Mars being in the house of Virgo. And that's like, hey, I'm putting in my effort when it comes to improving my health, when it comes to changing my lifestyle, when it comes to resolving conflicts, when it comes to changing my general environment, or something like that. Maybe I don't drink enough water. I'm going to drink more water. Just making those changes. I'm looking out for myself in the future. I'm quitting some sort of bad habit. I am resolving an unresolved conflict with whoever. There can also be that as well. And then you also may find yourself in conversations with people who may be in authority, especially with that Emperor card here. Overall, it's not a bad week, to be completely honest. It's just more so of a week of internal planning, going within yourself. You're not exactly in the most sociable mood. In fact, you are more self-focused next week. And I really do feel, because we have that Emperor card here, you are in a place in which you are having a little bit more responsibilities next week. And people may even be coming towards you with needing help, especially with the Hermit card there, to guide you, to guide them. So that is within the realm of possibility, but it's very introspective. It's very focused on the future, planning, whatever the case may be. Not a lot of going out and partying. I'll say that, with this combination of cards. So keep that in mind. You may be very busy, but it's not just busy work. It's really stuff that's going to benefit you in the long run. So that is our next week for the weekly collective. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think, if that lines up with anything that you connect to or you could see yourself doing, or you have any plans for. Me personally, I can definitely see that when it comes to the Emperor card there are some stuff that I have in the works for this channel in particular that I plan to like really sit down and grind next week. So I can see that for me. This week, I don't know if did I tell you guys with the Three of Pentacles, for me, that just represent like everyone having their own thought process when it comes to the schoolwork I'm doing, because I love giving you guys real world examples and interpretation. So this week, the Three of Pentacles reverse showed up for me as all of us kind of like working separately in our group projects and then coming together later to form a collaboration. So instead of just being there in one huddle, in one room, or in one conference, we're just like, let's work separately, then come together and bring the pieces together. So the Three of Pentacles can show up in that way. So I want to give you guys as many examples as always, because I am a practical reader. So I do want to give you real life examples of how it can show up. But that's what I have. That is what I wanted to say to you guys. Let me know your thoughts and your feelings when it comes to that, and how you have seen certain cards pop up in your life, and maybe your expectations next week when it comes to the Emperor and the Hermit. Sometimes it can create some conflict too, but you know. Thank you, Brandy. That works. Thanks, Brandy. You are welcome, you guys. I really appreciate the thanks. I've been on for a while, but I will give it a little bit more time, because I was talking about astrology and I thought I was going to be able to wrap it up in 30 minutes. But I'm a yapper. I'm a yapper when it comes to tarot and astrology. I am excited for the eclipses coming up. I almost forgot about them. There's so much going on in the month of September. Like, wow, this really is a busy month. I totally forgot. That's happening, I believe. What is that, Sunday? Yeah, the eclipse is happening Sunday. Wow, be on the lookout for that. See if that would explain that Emperor energy and wanting to make new decisions. As I was talking about earlier, you said, you're good. Keep doing these. I sense plenty more people shall come. Thank you, Genesis. I'm definitely going to keep doing it, even if nobody comes. I just love it. You know, when you love something, you're just going to do it no matter what. You know, instead of just doing it, you know, by myself, I'm going to do it for other people as well who might be interested. I might ask you guys more tarot questions, because I love hearing your answers. I was really not expecting the Two of Cups to come up as number one. I really thought you guys might pick the Lovers or the Ten of Cups, but that is interesting and good to know. Eclipses start when the 7th month of the lunar calendar ends, known as Ghost Month. I did not know. I've never looked at the lunar calendar. I'll have to look up the lunar calendar, because now I'm interested. You have piqued my interest, Strawberries. Yeah, it's true. When you really like doing something, you're just gonna do it. You know, the Ghost Month. I wonder why it's called the Ghost Month. I'm just curious. I'm just trying to see if there's a reason. And Chinese folk 11, the 7th lunar. Why did you cut off? In Chinese folk legend, the 7th lunar month is the Ghost Month. It is said that every year on the first day of the 7th lunar month, the gate of hell will be wide open and the ghosts will come out until the gate is closed on the 30th of the month. I hope not. That sounds scary. I hope not. I really do hope not. I think there's an intensity to the Lovers that over time has led to heartache than what it's worth, in my experience. It's great, it's beautiful, but the expectations are so high. I think you worded that very well, Genesis, that the Lovers has a level of intensity to it that can really be heartbreaking in the long run. But you're right, the Two of Cups doesn't have that same level of intensity. At least not in my experience. I don't see it come up with that level of intensity. It's when the portal to the spirit world opens, ghost month, because spirits communicate easier. But also, I wouldn't mess with that. Yay, may the ancestors party among the living, especially heard weird things about Ouija or the Ouija boards. Ooh. Okay, date of the Ghost Festival, September 6th. So the ghost month of this year is August 23rd to September 21st. So we're in the ghost month right now. Oh. It's true. The Two of Cups isn't intense. It's sweet. It's solemn. It's something you can build from. Mm. You know, you're right. It made it's a card that feels comfortable, right? I feel like the Lovers feels transformative, and the Two of Cups feels like, oh, this is really nice. Like, you know what I mean? Hey, Kiva. And thanks for letting me know that information, Strawberries. Like, I really didn't know about the ghost month and connecting to your ancestors as well. I think that's very insightful because I've never really looked at I guess more so this seems like I don't know what to call it. Chinese mythology. Is that what it's called? I want to make sure I'm right. I hope you're doing okay, Kiba. It seems like everyone is doing well. So I like to see that happening. That you guys, I like hearing that you guys are doing well and that life is good. I obviously wish you all the best. But this is nice. I've never personally tried to, well, that's a lie. I did do once in college, me and my friend, we did do like a seance. But it wasn't during any ghost month or anything. So I don't think we were able to contact anyone. Hi, Brandy. How much are you aware of the Akashic records? You know what? I've heard of that briefly in passing, but I have never done any personal research myself. So I don't have a strong opinion on it. I like to personally research things before I form any ideas. So I don't really know much. Why do you mention it? I'm out of water. Oh, and for anyone coming in, I do want to say that, yes, I am taking questions. We've been sitting here talking about various different things. But yes, it is, as always, $5 for yes or no, $10 for in-depth questions. And the avenues in which you can send is PayPal, Cash App, and Super Chats. There are no limits on the amount of cards that I will pull. And we've just done our weekly collective. We did a little bit of astrology. I'm going to post the timestamps after the video so you guys can go straight to the timestamps and look back. I'm also going to clip this up and put it on my, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. So if you just want a little sound bite, it'll be there. You can look back, just get a sound bite, a reminder of what's going to be happening and the energies that are in the sky. I heard the chat and you talking about ancestors, and that came up in my mind because a lot of people use that method to get in touch with the ancestors and stuff. Ooh. I didn't know that there was like a whole methodology behind it. I thought the Akashic records was some type of like predictive, I don't know, a list of predictions or something. That's what I thought it was in my mind. But I really do have to research it. The only way I get in touch with my ancestors is usually through tarot. That's how I make the connection. I feel it's very direct and easy for me. But I am curious to know different methods. Because it's always good. It's always good to expand your mind. When you learn more, you make so many different connections and notice so many different patterns in the world around you. At least that's how I feel. And I'm just shuffling the cards here. All right. Have you ever, has anyone ever done the Ouija boards or used the Akashic records? Akashic, I think it is. Records. Anyone ever done like gone to a medium or done a seance? I am curious if you were able to come in contact with any ghosts or ancestors or speak with them. Said, I'm too scared to do Ouija or seances. You know, I think every horror movie makes it sound like the worst decision in the world. It said, I used a spirit board twice and I've gone to mediums. I've done a seance with Pat Nagrai from Ghost Adventures. Wow, that's so random. Yes, a bunch of fluff did it. Some stuff happened. I was unimpressed. Oh my gosh. I love that you guys have tried it, and Strawberry's like, I'm staying away. I did, like I said, I've only done it once in college. I'll say it was kind of weird because like literally we had a little candle in the middle of the room and we were trying to, summon any ghost. And as soon as we were just like, okay, nothing's happening, literally the candle just blew out. And it was like, absolutely not. We screamed. We screamed at the top of our lungs and we turned on all the lights. We're like, nope. I thought it was crazy. But hold on. Janessis, tell us about your experiences. You have done the most. If you're curious about Akashic Records, the YouTube Aphrodite did a reading about it. Ooh, I'll look at it. I do like knowing the history and where's this coming from and people's perspectives. Hey, Altair, how are you? He's a tarot reader that does pop culture and metaphysical stuff like angels and demons. Ooh. I love everyone having their own different style and brand. I'm doing pretty good, Altair. I'm trying to make sure I'm saying it right. This is my dyslexia at work. Anyway, but I'm doing pretty good. I'm happy it's the weekend, happy to relax and have some fun. So it's pretty nice over here. I would be scared to talk about angels and demons. I don't know. For some reason, I'm like, oh no. We were both drunk. We used a soft drink plastic cover as a planchette, plancente. Am I saying this right? Planchette? Okay, I'm gonna have to work on that pronunciation. It was ridiculous, but we didn't properly seal the circle or end it properly. We opened ourselves up. My buddy had bloody lines come across his back for 2 days. Ooh, I had to spend a long week doing cleansings on him. Okay, that's a little scary. You guys may have summoned a bad ghost or something. That's a little terrifying. You got to make sure to ask for Casper or something like that. Like you're going to say good spirits only. Stay away anybody who's, evil. Please. It happened to me happened this. I was alone in the house with my 2-year-old sister, and I had a candle lit. I started to smell rotten eggs, and then the Ouija board wrote fire in Albanian. Whoa. That is creepy. Oh my goodness. You guys are having some really like out there experiences. That is terrifying. I would be so scared. I'm going to stick to tarot and astrology. I look at the candle and the fire went off. My sister said to me that she was seeing a woman with a blue skin in the corridor. Blue skin. I wonder why her skin was blue. This is so scary. You guys are living in horror movies. This is terrifying. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have to be like strawberries and stay away from all of the Ouija boards and everything. Because I don't think I can handle it. I think my heart would stop. Oh my gosh. That is terrifying. Yes, I'm scared of Ouija. Oh man. Yeah, these are some scary experiences. With the lines on the back and the blue woman and it's spelling fire? No. Absolutely not. I would cleanse my entire house from day to night every single day. But you never know what you can manifest. Life can throw some curve balls, you know. The lights going off is scary too. Yeah, that's true. If you can't see. I wonder why, is that like protocol? Can you not have a seance when it's like super bright or something? I've never looked up all the rules, but I know that is part of what people do as ritual with the candles and the dark lights. But I'm thinking, why can't you summon a spirit like when it's really bright, like afternoon, high in the sky? So I pray to Archangel Michael a lot. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, a lot of people do that for certain angels to help them with guidance and protection. I think that's nice because it can bring you a sense of peace, you know, and you never know. Some people say that they have had some really miraculous experiences when it comes to like different angel, Michael, Gabriel. Life can be so strange, right? So strange and so unpredictable. They are easy to summon, but irrelevant and weak. Nothing to worry about. Oh, for the ghost? I don't know. I would still be worried. All right, guys, I'm going to close out soon. Just because, you know, I'm thirsty and I'm tired. I got to go to bed. But let me know if you have any questions before I go. I'll probably close out in like 5 minutes or something like that. So I think YouTube blocked my previous comment. I'm not. Yeah, YouTube has been. Sometimes they block weird comments, and I don't know why. Maybe you could spell out whatever word that might. No, this was before I knew about Archangel Michael. Okay, I only have suspicions that it deals with photic energy and electromagnetic energy. That's the potential theory, but I've heard of spirits manifesting in the south during the daytime. Ooh, I had a scary ghost experience and I watched Mad TV and it went away. This was before I knew about her. Okay, I see it's connecting. Okay. This is there more electromagnetic energy at night? I wonder. I wonder if there's certain like locations on the earth that are easier to, I guess, attract certain spirits. I think it went away because I was laughing and ignored it. It didn't show fear. Ooh. Maybe, I wonder, that could be possibly it. One of my favorite shows is Medium, and it's supposed to be based off of a woman who's a real medium. And I know in the show, she will sometimes ignore the ghosts until they go away. And so I think that is more than likely part of the reason. If that's something that she really did, I'm not sure if the show is exaggerating or if that part was real or not. But I would imagine ghosts are just kind of just like regular people in some way. And if you ignore them enough, they more than likely will go away because you're not talking to them. Yeah, there's certain places on the earth that attract spirits. Like when enough people die in one area, there's a nexus point for Earth's energy. Ooh. There must be a lot in the different war zones that are going on right now, especially with Gaza. Congo, I believe. There must be a lot as well. This is sad. But I could see that. When you go to, this is why they say like there's a lot of ghosts in graveyards, right? Because when you go to a place where it's like where spirits lie, or where there's been a lot of loss, or maybe even just people are being buried there, they may not have necessarily died there, but it's a different vibe, it's a different energy. I think you can feel it, or at least it feels that way to me. Oh, and anyone, let me know if you have any questions before I go. I will go live next week sometime. Maybe this weekend. I don't know. It depends on my schoolwork. But do want to throw that out there. This one, since this one's a combination of like astrology and the tarot, I do want to have a separate pop-up. Say, yeah, all those war zones now have added electromagnetic residue, which is enough to anchor spiritual memory or not. It still has potential. Ooh. Wow. It's sad though, but I understand. I hope those spirits are there mainly for protection because all of those people need it. You know, it's terrible what some people will do to others. So I'm going to pray for anyone who is going through those tough circumstances, and hopefully those spirits and ghosts will protect those who need the protection the most. Oh, these cards just flew all over the place. Oh. Oh, gosh. All right. But I'm going to close out, guys, because I'm going to fall asleep in a second. And thank you all for letting me know your ghost stories and seances and how you have what you have experienced. This is actually fascinating, and I love to hear it. I might have to do a post question around like seance and ghosts next week, since this is like part of, I believe, that lunar month. Am I saying this right? I've got to look this up more. I got to look it up, make sure I'm saying it right, since we're in the right type of energy to talk about spirits and connect with them. I'll do a question surrounding it. But that is all I wanted to talk about today. I'm so glad you guys came and stopped by and asked questions and listened to me talk about astrology and night Genesis, night strawberries, night Kiva. I don't know if Altair's still here, but night to you too. And I will see you all next time. Hopefully, no announcements for me, just the usual. Reading will be out next Thursday. Be sure to vote on the polls as always. I'll probably pop up maybe this weekend, not for long, maybe just like 30 minutes or so, because I need rest. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.